Alrighty, guys, I once again went 5-1 in all of my personal sports bets on my website yesterday. And the only way you could have accessed all of those winners is to be a board member on my website. And speaking of board members, we're also 10-1 in our last 11 board member tier package bets in that very package. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my NBA free pick video here today for Thursday, March 9th, 2023. Happy Thursday to you. Weekend's right around the corner. And of course, if you have feeling like you have the sniffles here tonight, well, maybe today is your Friday. But anyway, my name is Brock Page, and I've been giving out free sports picks right here on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. And once again, guys, I'm 10-1 in my last 11 board member tier package bets on that site. And not only do board members get access to my exclusive board member podcast every day, you're also going to get access to every single personal play of mine, every single package, every single day until April 1st. Once again, it is a full access, all-inclusive membership. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side, and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free picks on these videos that I'm actually betting on personally. I currently have over 515 members who are signed up and active on my website right now. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to start off with the Hornets at the Pistons, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Charlotte's -3, totals 225.5. Now, the Hornets did get the W in 6 out of their last 9, and they covered in nearly 70% of those ball games. And speaking of covering, the Hornets currently have a winning record against the point spread on the road this year. And speaking of road games, Charlotte's one of the better defensive rebounding teams away from home in the league. They're actually in the top 5 in the NBA in that category I just mentioned. Kelly Oubre has a bunch of defensive steals on the season. He also ranks second on the active roster in points. Meanwhile, Terry Rozier is scoring 21 points a game himself. He also shoots it quite well from long distance. Now, they're facing a Pistons team who has the worst record in the NBA right now, and they did lose their last 9 straight. And no real surprise here, guys, the Pistons are allowing just about 120 points a game in the Little Caesars Arena. Now, injury-wise, Burks, Bogey, and Stewart are out. Hayes and Durant are questionable. Meanwhile, for Charlotte, Cody Martin's unable to suit up for them. Now, total-wise, 9 out of Charlotte's last 10 outings did stay under the number. They're also 60% to the under in their last 10 meetings with Detroit. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. Now, the Pistons, on the other side, they were held to just 109 points a game in those 10 head-to-head meetings I just mentioned. Give me Charlotte -3, under 225.5. Next game, Rockets, Pacers, 7 o'clock East. Indies -9.5, totals 236. And even though the Pacers typically aren't good enough to cover nearly double digits, they actually have been really good against the number here recently. The Pacers went 6-1 against the spread in their last 7. They're doing a nice job of scoring at home. Matter of fact, Indy's in the top 10 in the league in home points per contest. Tyrese Halliburton's drilling 40% of his three-pointers, and he leads the team in scoring. Meanwhile, Buddy Hield, he's averaging 17 points a game himself, and he's knocking down nearly 43% of his shots from three-land. Now, they're facing a Houston team who failed to cover in 7 out of their last 9. They currently have the worst record in the Western Conference. When it comes to offensive production, the Rockets averaged fewer points a game than any other club in the league except for one. Now, injury-wise, Kevin Porter's out for the Rockets. Meanwhile, for Indiana, Aaron Nesmith is questionable. Kendall Brown is out. Now, total-wise, the Pacers went 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Houston saw 4 out of their last 6 get over the total themselves. Give me Indiana -9.5, over 236. Next game, Jazz, Magic, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Orlando's -4, totals 233. As bad as Utah's been, it's actually Orlando who's lost 3 out of their last 4. And they do have a losing record at home. When it comes to offensive production, the Magic's had all kinds of problems getting to the hoop. They're currently in the bottom 3 in offensive points per game. Now they're facing a Utah team who's one of the better scoring teams on the road in the league. They're actually in the top 5 in offensive points per game while traveling. And in their last 10 meetings with Orlando, the Jazz held the Magic to just 98 points a game. So once again, if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Now, Lauri Markkanen, he's got a bunch of steals on the season, and he currently leads the team in points. Markkanen's also shooting 40% from beyond the arc. Spit it out, Brock. Come on. I know I get excited about this stuff, and I can hardly talk. Meanwhile, Kelly Olynyk, he's knocking down just about 40% of his shots from three land. And when it comes to the injury report, Colin Sexton's still inactive. Clarkson and Kessler are questionable. Meanwhile, for the Magic, Wendell Carter's out. Harris and Schofield are questionable for them. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Orlando's last 4 did get over the number. Meanwhile, Utah went 5-2 to the over in their last 7 on the road. Give me Utah +4 over 233. Next game, Warriors-Grizzlies, 7:30 p.m. East. Golden State's -2, totals 235.5. And even though the Grizzlies organization is in a state of disarray, it's actually the Warriors who can't seem to get it together on the road. Out of 32 contests away from the Chase Center, Golden State got the W only 7 times. And equally as bad, the Warriors are covering in just 28% of those road games. Now, their biggest issue has been their defensive play. They're allowing more points per contest on the road than any other team in the NBA except for one. They're facing a Memphis team who continues to win at home despite their troubles. The Grizzlies are 26-5 in the FedEx Forum, and they've been nearly impossible to score against there. And in addition to having the lowest defensive field goal percentage in the NBA, the Grizzlies are also allowing fewer points per contest at home than any other team in the league except for one. Now, Adams and Moran are still out. Jake LaRavia is questionable. Meanwhile, for Golden State, Wiggins and Rollins are scratched. Looney and Kuminga are questionable as well. When it comes to the number, Golden State's 23-9 to the over in their travels. Meanwhile, Memphis saw overs against the likes of the Clippers, Celtics, and Timberwolves. Give me Memphis +2 over 235.5. Next game, Nets, Bucks, 8 o'clock East. Milwaukee's -12, totals 232. And even though this is a big number here, Milwaukee's certainly no stranger to covering point spreads. They're 8-2 against the number in their last 10. And they actually covered in 64% of their home games this year. And speaking of home games, the Bucks are a dominant 27-6 in the Fiserv Forum. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he scores a team-high 31 points per contest. He ranks second in the league in rebounds. Meanwhile, Drew Holiday's second on the team in points, and also drills nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Now they're facing a Nets team who's in the bottom 3 and defending the three-pointer on the road. They're also one of the worst rebounding teams in the East. They currently find themselves in the bottom 10 in defensive boards, and they're actually grabbing fewer offensive rebounds per game than any other team in the league except for one. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Dinwiddie, Simmons, O'Neal, Johnson, and Claxton, they're all inactive for tonight's game for Brooklyn. Meanwhile, for the Bucks, Dragic and Matthews, they both will not suit up here for Milwaukee. Now, total-wise, the Bucks saw unders recently against the likes of Washington, Phoenix, and this very Brooklyn team. Meanwhile, the Nets saw 5 out of their last 7 stay under the total themselves. Give me Milwaukee -12, under 232. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be the Knicks at the Kings, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Sacramento's the 4-point favorite at home, totals 235. And as good as Sacramento's been on offense, they definitely have their struggles on the defensive end of the court. For one, these guys have the highest defensive field goal percentage at home in the entire NBA. They're also allowing 119 points a night in the Golden One Center. And speaking of home games, these guys do have a losing record against the point spread in their own arena. Now they're facing a Knicks team on the other side who plays their best basketball on the road. As a matter of fact, they're tied for the most road victories in the entire NBA. And in New York's last 10 ball games at any location, the Knicks got the outright W 9 times. And they actually failed to cover only once during that stretch. Julius Randle averages a team-high 25 points a game along with double-digit rebounds. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson's drilling 41% of his long balls. And when it comes to defensive play, the Knicks have the lowest defensive field goal percentage on the road in the league. Now, injury-wise, you definitely want to keep an eye on Jalen Brunson. He's been battling some foot problems, although I am pretty optimistic he'll suit up here tonight. But if you're firing on this game, definitely keep an eye on his status. But whether he's in or out, I think the Knicks can overcome. They're great on the road, like I said. Now for Sacramento on the other side, Richaun Holmes and De'Aaron Fox, they are both currently listed as questionable. Keep an eye on those guys as well. When it comes to the total, Sacramento went 70% to the over in their last 10. Now the Kings are also 22-11 to the over in the Golden One Center. Meanwhile, the Knicks went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. Give me the Knicks +4 over 235. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Give me the Charlotte Hornets -3 under 225.5. Indiana Pacers -9.5 over 236. Utah Jazz +4 over 233. I'm 10-1 on my last 11 board member tier package bets on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. Give me Memphis +2 over 235.5. Milwaukee -12 under 232. With my next and final free pick for the video, give me the Knicks +4 over 235.